Okay. DBJ here with Sophie. Hey, Sophie Boo Boo. Um, this one is about what role do you play in your party makeup? Of course, I always use D&D as a general rule, but of course it always applies to sci-fi and superheroes. And there's a difference between the role you play and the character class you play. All right, and I've heard so many times till it's you almost want to roll your eyes at it. The last player in the game goes, "Oh man, do I have to play the cleric? Do I have to play the heal bot? Hey, if I play a fighter, I must be up front. If I play the rogue, I must sneak around. If I play wizard, I must shoot spells from behind." Okay, that's a character class, and we associate or tend to associate character classes with character tactics, right? But that's try to open your minds to that. That's not necessarily true. I would challenge you to think about not what character class are you, but what role do you play in your party makeup. Now, I'm only going to bring up two types of roles. One role is what role do you play tactically? We all want to know. Okay, hey, do I run up front? Do I sneak around behind? Do I heal people? What tactical element do I add to that? And this comes very much from video games where you get to pick, you create your character and you get to pick before you even pick your skin, you get to pick what kind of character class you're playing in an MMO. Am I playing a tank? Am I playing, a ranged attacker? A striker? Am I playing someone who's fast? Am I playing someone that is able to utilize, ranged magical effects or something of that nature? But I would challenge you to look beyond that and figure out what role you play, right? So, as a game master, don't, get away from forcing somebody to be the cleric. Forcing someone, hey, we need another fighter. Hey, you're the thief. You're playing your thief wrong. Kitty, always really? Just because I start talking on the video, you have to start messing with stuff? Come on, Sophie. You want to be on the video? Come on over. Come on over. Anyway, let's get back to this. What role do you play? Okay, for example, we played in the game, the Copper Coast Tales, and we had a player character in there who was a tiefling sorcerer with a crossbow, and the crossbow was the arcane focus, and so all of the spell effects came out of this crossbow. The tiefling was highly skilled in surviving in the elements, like a ranger, and led the group through the wilderness many times, sneaking through the woods and things of that nature. The character concept was not a ranger. The character was not a rogue. This player, we were first level, and he was playing a sorcerer. But the character concept and the way the character was developed, Brock Oren, you're out there, you know what I'm talking about. Eldrin, who got sucked down into hell or wherever. He played the character as a scout, as a wilderness survivor. Made perfect sense. The character concept was good. So when you decide what role you play in it, I would make the challenge that every person that plays a character class decide not to play that role. Play one that's more unique. For example, you can be the backstabber. Who says a wizard can't be a backstabber? You get a couple of spells like invisibility. You've got some armor spells. You've got some charm abilities. You can sneak around as a wizard. Who says a fighter has to be up front? A protector can be a thief, protecting others, pulling people out of danger. Yes, clerics play healers, but let's get away from that. Not only has, let's say, 5th edition instituted rules for healing, but other player characters can actually have the skill of healing. You can actually pick that for your character concept. hey, I'm a ranger, but I also want the skill to, I want a medical skill to heal people, do first aid, like triage while we're out there in a battle. Oh, okay, so your character's going to be the one to heal people. Yes, I want to be the healer of the group. Yep, sure, I'm a ranger. Yeah, I'll start, using my bow or throw some javelins. I've got my sword. I'm out there, killing a bunch of goblinoids, but my character, I want to be the healer. That is the role I want to play. A fighter. A fighter that fights from behind. Every fighter does not have to wear the heaviest armor with a big shield and a big weapon and stand up front and quote unquote be the tank and take all the damage. You can play a fighter that's a ranged fighter, a fighter that sits in the back, maybe sitting next to the wizard while everybody else runs ahead. Pick a different role. What role do you play? And try not to fall into the same stereotypes, same tactical stereotypes. Not only does it get boring, but it doesn't leave any room to open yourself. A wizard could very much be part of nature and play the quote-unquote role of the druid. A druid could very much be so much part of nature that they're the one that likes to sneak around and flank people and hit people from behind. Maybe because that's how they'd had to survive in the wilderness when people wanted to come into the wilderness, goblinoids going to the wilderness and just poisoning the land. So the druid plays the role of that sneaks around. Especially in 5th edition, but having the background separate from the character class, your background could very much be soldier. Your character class is warlock, right? So your background, you have skills and tactics. You can go out front and give direction to your other player characters and stand out front with your armor spell and your shield spell. And now you are the person casting spells out front, absorbing the damage as the tank, while the fighter is in the background lending his ranged attacks with his javelin or bow or crossbow or something like that. Change it up. And of course, the argument against this would be, well, statistically that doesn't make sense. And if you are more of a narrationist, if you want to create dynamic stories, you want to get out of the stereotypes, statistics don't really matter much. I mean, if it's a matter of a bonus of a +1 or a +2, you're only talking a 5% difference. Every +1 is a 5% difference. Would any rational person notice a 5% difference in combat? Not really. You're going to pick up a weapon and use it. You're going to be in combat. Your emotion is going to be high. Your adrenaline is running. A simple +1 would be unnoticeable, negligible in combat. And if you decide to play different roles, you're giving fuel to your game master. If you get together as players and say, hey, we're going to make a fighter, a wizard, a cleric, a rogue, and we are each going to play a different role in a game. My fighter is going to sneak around. The wizard's going to stand out front. The cleric is going to do some ranged spells, and the rogue is going to be the healer. Oh, that's odd. That's strange. Okay, let's see how we can do this. And when you give that fuel to your game master's like, man, they're really thinking outside the box. All right, that means I got to step up my game. I got to reward them for what they've done. This is a great idea. I've never thought of that before. And just add those elements. Now, here's the other part of what role do you play in your game as a player. What role do you play on a social and emotional level in your group? You're going, well, Dave, you talking about psychology? We're talking about role-playing games. Don't go there. Look, are you the person that everyone leans on when they're afraid? Are you the person that's nosy and likes to pick and prod and find out what is going on in people's heads, find out their backstory, find out what they've said to other NPCs in the game? Are you the person that wants to corrupt everyone and getting them to do more and more evil things as you poke and prod them into hey, let's go along, hey, let's steal the money, no one's going to notice that, hey, let's torture that goblin, he has information, I know it's going to turn your stomach, but you have to be strong in this. What role do you play? Are you the innocent that must be convinced to go on these missions? Are you the one focused on getting revenge and trying to learn to look at life in a more full light, and to be someone that is not so consumed with revenge and vengeance and justice. What role do you play in your game? You know, the main man put out a video about not killing off your own story, and I love the fact that he, you know, far too often as players, we want to have a big bad villain, and hey, I want to confront the big bad villain, and the first minute I see the big bad villain, I want to kill him, and it's like you're killing off your own spotlight. You're okay, great. You've killed the big bad villain in your background in your second level. Okay, now you're done. Now there's no reason to focus on your character. You can come up with these things. So what role do you play in your group that allows you to have that much more importance in the game? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are weak. It just means that you're more proactive. So are you playing a holy paladin on a mission of vengeance, but learning to look at the world from the eyes of the wizard in the group, and looking at the world, starting to look at the world in more of a black and white? Are you the barbarian that can't read, and cozying up to the cleric in the group as the cleric sits down and reads their holy text, and wanting to learn, maybe my character wants to learn how to read? Are you the rogue who loves hearing the stories that the bard gives out? Or are you the rogue that's the city slicker and wondering why the dirty druid is able to commune with nature, and you want to find out more about it? Or maybe it turns your stomach and you have this this back and forth, this kind of like culture clash of the city versus the wilderness. Create those stories, figure out what role do you play. And it can just be one word or even one line. I am the innocent child of the group, and I look to the group as my elders and my mentor and my stability. Hey, I am the one seeking vengeance in the group, and my role in the group is not just to protect them, but to save my soul, because vengeance will eat away at my humanity until I am nothing but a killing machine, and I am afraid of what I will become. Are you the person who is the outsider? I am uneducated, and I am nothing but a wild, raging combatant, and I am learning to harness and control the beast that is inside of me, and learning to become more civilized. But as I become more civilized, I am falling further away from the culture that raised me. Find out, what role do you play in your group? And you could actually sit down and do this as especially if you're playing something like Fate Core or something. If you're not familiar with those games, you can sit down and create your characters a one line that just describes who you are and how you interact with everyone else in the group. I wrote, picking your role in a group could mean everyone picks a weakness, and how that group fulfills and supports and hides and gives them strength for their weakness. I am afraid to be alone, and the people I'm traveling with make me feel like they are my family. I am a loner, and I am learning to become more and more accustomed to working with others. I come from a big family, and the party members remind me of my big family. I cannot wait to get back home. Just coming up with simple ideas and picking the role that you play in your game. Are you the trickster? Are you the serious one? Are you the scholar? And of course, again, this does not have to be character class based. Just because you're the wizard doesn't mean you have to also be the scholarly one. Just because you're the barbarian doesn't mean you have to be the dumb one. You can always pick different things. I can imagine a wizard that is dyslexic and has always had a hard time reading his own spell book, and just gets frustrated, and it's just, maybe he's a sorcerer and it comes naturally, but reading the spell book, oh man, this is difficult. I don't like reading the spell books, and and I have to cover it up and hide the fact that I can't even read these spell books for my friends. You know, you are the knight on a holy quest for vengeance, but really internally you're going, I've already finished my quest for vengeance, and no one knows this, and I have no other purpose. My arch nemesis is dead. What purpose do I serve? You know, maybe I'll pick up the mantle and serve the others in my party and see what adventures take me as I follow and support their endeavors. You know, find out what role you play. So anyway, as always, create better stories, fall out of the stereotype, don't get trapped into these typical tactical, hey, I'm a rogue, that means I must sneak around. I am a fighter, that must mean I am the tank and absorb all damage. I am the wizard, that means I'm crunchy and must stay in the back and shoot spells over people's heads. I am the cleric and I must heal. Get away from those stereotypes. Pick a different role. Decide for your group, if you can beforehand, what roles you want to play. Tell the game master or the storyteller, flame tender, hey, this is the role I'd like to play. Can you accommodate what I want to do? I don't want to do the same idea again, over and over again. You know, I want to play a ranger, but I don't want to be that, you know, goblinoid killer. I want to pick something else. Okay, let's work together. Let's come up with a great idea. So as always, you know, create those new things. Create ideas that break the stereotypes. I will say destroy. Destroy those things that are holding you back in the game, holding other players back in the game. Destroy those things that are making Dungeons and Dragons stale. Because Dungeons and Dragons has always been the classic game. I know more and more people have been exposed to other games as their first game, and therefore those players are not out there. They're going, you know what, Dungeons and Dragons, there's a bunch of grognards out there. I'm not playing that game. It's the typical thing. I'm playing a knight. I'm playing a wizard. I'm bored with that. I won't play Dungeons and Dragons. I won't play 5th edition. Break those stereotypes and include those people to say, yes, you can play something out of the norm. A matter of fact, because you play these other games, let's accommodate what you want to do and create some really great stories. So anyway, DBJ, thanks for listening or watching. Thanks for supporting me. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. So thanks a lot. And you guys have a good one.